You're good to go, Mass.
Can you hear us? Too many Matts.
Tell Matt Matt one. Okay, the subtitles will be easy.
Welcome everyone to another episode of A Beer with the Brewer. Tonight we're here at Brewski and I'm joined by another two Matts. Matty E, how are you, mate?
Very good, buddy. How are you?
Very well. Thanks for having us here for tonight.
Great
Thanks for I think making your debut on the show.
Mate, stoked to be here.
Awesome. And Matty Wilson, how are you going?
Mate, I'm well.
Awesome. Made the trek down the highway.
Yep.
How many tunnels did you get lost in?
Just the one tunnel, but I went through it 3 times.
Yeah. When I first moved to Brisbane, I used to do a couple of little beer deliveries here and there when we first opened the brewery, and often I would be lost in a tunnel, cursing.
I would have been all right if the GPS didn't go nuts in the tunnel.
Just
anyway.
when you're lost and you need it, it cuts out.
I've only been living here for 10 years.
Yeah.
I should know where to go by now.
Yes. Anyway, we're here tonight to launch these two beers. You and I caught up 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yep.
When we brewed these beers. Did a podcast on the Friday at our brewery.
We did, yes.
And now we get to taste the final product, which is pretty exciting. So both these beers have been canned in the last day or so. We canned ours this morning and yours was yesterday, I believe.
Yep, yesterday.
So it doesn't get much fresher.
No, super fresh.
So, which is great. And mate, you've, for anyone that has sort of drank beer in Brisbane, I'm sure they've been to Brewski. You've been running here for 5-6 years now? Probably longer, actually.
Yeah, coming 9 years, eh?
Yeah,
close.
Yeah, even longer. 9 years, wow. I remember, it must have been a few years ago when I was drinking the first birthday beer you made with Newstead.
Oh, jeez. So that was I think we did the 5th.
Yeah, I think you did it with Jill.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Maybe the 5th.
Yeah.
Had a V on it, so I think that's 5.
Well, in 9 years, mate, you must have seen a fair bit and seen the industry evolve.
Seen a lot of changes and a lot of cool stuff happen. And a lot of,
absolutely.
A lot of styles come and go.
Certainly evolved, hasn't it, over that period.
Totally,
So, mate, can you tell us a little bit about, I guess, why you opened a craft beer bar in Brisbane 9-10 years ago when there wasn't that much around here, and how the journey's been, I guess?
Yeah, well, I think previously my partner Antoinette and I were in the advertising game, and we sort of had a bit of a midlife crisis, and I was into a bit of home brewing at the time, and I was a bit of a barfly at the Scratch. He was a year or two old, and I was, saw how much fun those guys were having, and went, well, we can do this. Let's get out of this advertising. Actually, it was Antoinette who said we need to get out of this advertising game, and she said, let's open a bar. And I said, yes, let's open a bar. So, silliest thing we've ever done, but here we are. And it was,
I think you said something similar, mate, talking about opening your bar.
Yeah, it's pretty similar sort of trajectory, but I can really sort of relate to that.
Yeah.
A lot of hard work, and you think to yourself, why have we done that? But it's good fun too.
Yeah, very rewarding. Lots of fun times.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think look back and would you go and work what you were doing beforehand? It's like no bloody way. But it's crazy hard work. But the people you meet and the stories you get to hear and tell, and it makes it all worthwhile.
Oh, I think if you look at a lot of breweries that have opened, a lot of people have been ex-IT, or worked in a white-collar job and decided to give up their big salary and go and open a brewery. Probably earn about a quarter of the money for the lifestyle and what it's all about. So it is a pretty fun thing. So you would have seen some breweries come and go in that time, I reckon.
Yes. Yeah. I was just trying to think of who we've seen go, but it's probably more exciting about the guys, the new guys.
Absolutely.
Seeing the way different people approach their business and the beer styles, and I think you guys are both hop forward, and it's then you get other guys that are they'll try anything, or they'll stick to a particular genre. So it's pretty cool seeing the way different people tackle things.
I think when I first come up here nearly 5 years ago, at the time, all of a sudden all these breweries opened. It sort of went boom. There was, I guess initially there were sort of breweries like Newstead, Green Beacon, more sort of, I guess, the pioneers of the Brisbane craft brewing scene.
Yeah, yeah.
And then a few years after that, like all of a sudden had a mass sort of entry into the market of all these different breweries pop up, which is pretty cool. I guess it can only really be good for the beer industry.
Yeah, totally.
And you get to pour all the awesome beers, so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is, I love, collaborations like these and nights like these where we can...
Well, we better crack it open. We're sitting here with 2 empty glasses.
Yeah. Good point.
We might,
Which one are we doing first?
well, we might pour one of each, I reckon, and compare them. Pinch a couple of these, mate.
Yeah, rip in.
So the idea was, we mentioned this when we caught up last time, to brew 2 beers, but basically using the same ingredients.
Yeah.
But make 2 different styles of IPA. A West Coast and an East Coast. So if you have a look at the awesome cans, so one's got the East Coast theme and the other the West Coast theme. So I guess in terms of the style, the West Coast is more sort of generally more bitter and brighter.
Yeah.
And then you get, well, you can see the hazy East Coast, which is a relatively new style that's sort of, I guess, really exploded in the craft beer world in the past few years. So compare how using the same hops and then pretty similar grist or malt, and see actually how the beers come out.
Yeah, and it was a really fun experience too. So you can see with ours, because we have used pretty much the same malt bill, we've used some flaked oats and some wheat in ours, so it's not crystal clear. It has got a little bit of a haze to it, and the hops that we've used, it's almost like a hybrid. It's got a few of those hazy IPA attributes, but that bitterness is definitely there. And we chucked a few hops at it. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, what's protocol? I'm gagging to have a sip, mate.
Yeah, go for it, mate, by all means. As we mentioned, they were only packaged in the last 2 days, so the beers are both pretty fresh.
Yeah.
I reckon in a week or so, they're just gonna lift when you get...
Absolutely. They're both of them are pretty green.
Yeah.
I reckon another week and they will be absolutely banging.
They both smell lovely, but like if you look at the colour, exactly the same coloured malt in the beer, and the brighter one actually looks a bit darker.
Yeah.
And then the hazy sort of looks like that orange juice that you associate with these sort of beers. So it's very interesting, isn't it, how it changes your perception of what the beer's going to taste like.
Yeah, absolutely. We drink and we eat with our eyes, and this thing actually does have that, juice.
Yeah, it's
juice look to it.
All the way. Yeah. Process-wise, is there anything different you guys did between the 2 beers?
Yeah.
I mean, yeast obviously is a big player there, and protein. But...
Yeah, well, with this one, so we would have added more hops on the hot side, so which is when we're actually brewing it. So we added hops at the start of the boil in the kettle, and then we really loaded it up in the whirlpool at the end of the brew day. With Matt's beer, I don't think you added any hops in the kettle, did you?
Oh, very little.
I actually did no brewing at that one. I just drank.
I think I did the same at yours. It sat on the brew deck for a while.
It's what's supposed to happen at collaboration.
Generally, if you're the visiting brewer, you don't do that much brewing.
No.
Spend a good portion of time trying the other breweries' beers.
But and then on the cold side, when it's fermenting, these guys would have added some hops 1 or 2 days after fermentation kicked off, which is where you
we
get
dry hopped it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
During the fermentation.
And we only dry hop this once, I think. For 5 days. So we gave it a big charge of hops, but this thing would have had hops whilst it was still fermenting, and then probably another 2 times during that process. So.
Yeah, interesting. The hops in them, it was mostly American. We had Idaho 7 Cashmere, and we threw a bit of Aussie in there, Enigma.
Yep.
For me at the moment, the hop that I think stands out is Idaho 7. It's got a bit of that spice coming. I think it's because it's so fresh, a bit of spice. There is some fruit.
Definitely some fruit. We the 3 brewers in our team, we actually, with our beer, after we packaged it, we went our separate ways and did some sensory and wrote down what we thought was in it. And we didn't, not everything matched up, but the common things that we had was pineapple and white peach.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then one guy had mandarin pith, and then I actually said Alan's pineapple lollies, because I actually reckon it smelled like that. That Idaho 7 to me, when you open up the bag, it's almost got that that almost lolly smell to it.
So all those hops are pretty new age hops. Like they've really only been available to brewers for the last 4 or 5 years.
Yep.
Even Enigma in Australia. And they really promote that sort of tropical fruit flavour.
It was actually the first time that I'd used Enigma.
Yeah.
So and I had some in there, and I'd been wanting to use it for about a year. But yeah, I'm actually happy to. I'm looking forward to using it on its own in a beer, in a single hop beer, just to really get an idea of what it's sort of putting out there. I remember having Green Beacon a few years ago. They did a wet hop beer with Galaxy and Enigma, and we've all drunk plenty of beers with Galaxy in it. But for me, that one, the Enigma beer was the better one.
Yeah. Mate, what do you think? First time trying the beers. Can you, I guess, pick the differences in the beer?
If I had my eyes closed, it'd be a bit harder. But no, look, they're both delicious. Like I say, both probably a little bit green, just having been kept in the last 24 hours. But yeah, heaps of tropical fruit, and yes, like I know, as soon as you mentioned things like pineapple, it's like, oh yeah, I get that. It's like, definitely, yeah.
When you smell them side by side, they're actually pretty close.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like haven't used obviously the same hops.
Yeah.
Really, all we changed to make it this hazy, we changed the malt a little bit, took out a little bit of pale malt, and added a chit malt, which is a high protein malt. And then it's a different yeast strain. So we use a strain for these East Coast Ale. That's good for hazy beers. And was this USO5 or Cali Ale?
We actually used 2 different yeasts. We used USO5 and Verdant.
Yeah, okay. So Verdant can be used for hazies as well. So promote some of that
we
tropical
use
fruit.
Verdant in our hazies. We don't make a lot of hazies, but when we do, that's the yeast that we use.
And why did you do that? Use the 2 strains?
Giggles. Well, we're always putting different hops and that together. Well, why not? USO5 is just a workhorse, and we'll chew through things. And the Verdant, we thought, I don't know, we'll just see what it does.
Yeah.
Good result.
Yeah.
Do it again. Yeah.
No, it's interesting. I think I've co-pitched beers before when you go for different sort of aspects of what the yeast can do. Like in a beer like this helps promote sort of the fruity flavour.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Is that your usual yeast profile when you do hazies, or?
It is, yeah. So we make a core hazy IPA now, and it's pretty similar. So we've been playing around with how hazy the beer is. When we first started making them, we had the issue of them dropping bright. So we couldn't actually get the haze into the beer.
And we did too.
Yeah, so we played around with different quantities of rolled oats, malted oats. But when I discovered chit, it's actually been around for hundreds of years in Germany. They use it for protein. But in recent times, it's become sort of more available to craft brewers. And it works really well in these beers. So it actually helps sort of maintain that haze. And then sometimes they're too hazy. I find with hazy IPAs, if they still contain a lot of yeast. You get yeast bite, you get like hop burn. It holds on to some of the unpleasant parts of hops that you don't want.
Yeah.
These beers are all about a nice juicy, soft profile.
Yeah.
So you want to try and strip that out. So this beer actually has findings in it. So it's,
Really?
yeah. It was, if you had seen it a few days ago, it looked muddy.
Right.
So it's, you spend all this time and effort trying to make the beer hazy, and now we're trying to strip that back out. So
That's next level.
it's like,
We added findings to ours as well,
Yeah.
but only on the hot side. So
Yeah.
we just had a raw flock in the kettle.
so I learned when I was a young brewer, everything was about making beer bright and clear. And basically you're trying to get all this out. And then in the last 3 or 4 years, all these hazy beers come in. You sort of got to relearn what you're doing a bit.
Yeah.
And throw the brewing textbook out the window. Some of the old lectures and stuff I learned off would be turning over in their sleep worrying about it. But it's
Absolutely.
so like every time I make a hazy beer, I'm sort of, you picture what you want it to taste like, and I guess when people drink it, how hazy it is, because it really affects the flavour. But I reckon in another few days, this one, it's tasting good now, but it is quite green.
It is green, yeah.
We literally kegged it today. I reckon that'll mellow out.
How long did you have it in the bright tank for?
We used a uni tank.
Used a uni tank,
so
so
it didn't get transferred.
So it's been sitting on those hops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just got a visitor.
Someone looking for the ladies.
Yeah.
Yeah. That will mellow out and be banging.
So we talk about beer freshness. Obviously, as a bar, beer freshness for you is pretty big.
Yeah.
You'd source, I guess over the journey, you source beers from America and all over the world.
Yeah.
Sometimes they probably don't come over in the best condition.
We've bought some, bought some beers that have been well past their prime.
Yeah, they probably cost top dollar as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think the whole shipping, the whole chain of delivery and whatnot has changed a lot. It's I'm pretty sure when we opened, nothing was cold shipped.
No,
Everything's door to door, like four degrees and under, and it's quite amazing the condition we get some of the international beers in. They're great. They taste amazing.
I'm sure you've seen over that 9-10 year period, like the quality of beer just from everyone has improved massively.
Totally, yeah.
And I think part of that is because all these breweries have opened up, it's become more competitive, and also the consumer is a lot more switched on to what good beer
The
should
consumer's
taste like.
very, very switched on.
Particularly hoppy beers. Like, I remember myself buying American beers in a bottle and drinking them, and always had this sort of like green melony taste.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this must be what the beer is. But that was oxidation.
Yeah.
And almost always they all had it in it. Like, you'd buy it from these good American breweries.
Yeah.
And it wasn't their fault. They just got here 3-4 months after they've been packaged.
Well,
So.
for me, that's what they, Stone Brewing, that tastes like cardboard. Oh, this is great.
Yeah, exactly.
It's supposed to taste like that. It's like,
But then on the flip side, like these beers have just been released. They're almost too fresh to a degree.
Yeah.
But, I reckon though in a week they'll be absolutely primed and by the time the punters are drinking them.
What a problem to have though. The beer's too fresh.
It's not a bad problem. I'm not complaining about it. It's just an observation.
Yeah.
We've got one of our, it's not a core range beer at all. We brew it probably once or twice a year. It's called Hazed and Confused, and it's a hazy beer. We just did a batch of it on the little kit at the beach. I'm not allowed to brew it on the big kit because it's so expensive to make. But we packaged that 2 weeks ago, and then when I first packaged it, it was like super green and astringent. And like we had punters going, is it on? Because in the beach there, we right up on the the beer that's fermenting in the tank. They're going, it's ready. And we're going, we saw you kegging it off. No man, we're not selling that for another week, and then it's now just hitting its straps now. It's just like that astringency and the greenness has gone out of it, and the aroma's even opened up.
Yeah, I reckon after maybe a week to 3 weeks in package, it really pops.
Yeah.
You get like all the hop oils coming out. You get the nice fruitiness. Yeah, and then it's a lot more. Well, it's beautiful to drink, really.
When what?
When it's like that sort of stage where it's 2-3 weeks old in the package. Yeah.
And that's that sweet spot when you
Yeah.
go rip into it.
Yeah.
And what do you guys drink at home? Like if you're going to take an IPA home, what will you take? The hazy, or would you reach for a West Coast at the moment?
My love is probably more the West Coast.
Yeah.
Or always has been. But I really can appreciate the hazies as well, especially when they're done well. I actually hated them until Shaz and I and the kids did a trip to North America and had some over there, and then that really
You see it
changed my
context.
mind.
Yeah.
And that was a few years ago now. I think we were doing them wrong.
Yeah.
And then we've gotten so much better. And there's, guys like, Mountain Culture and, Bolter and the rest of it. And the boys over at Newstead, they're putting out some ripper stuff. So, but for me, I prefer to drink a West Coast, but I definitely will rip into these things, that's for sure.
I'm probably the same, to be honest. Like when we package our core IPA, which is 7.5 West Coast IPA, well, it's a little bit hybrid as well. It's not quite as bitter as most IPAs, but I just love it. Sit on the couch and have a 4-pack of that.
Yeah.
It just gives you this nice sort of warmth.
Yeah.
That's not just the booze either. It's the
But when I'm at home, I drink our pale ale more than anything. Because it doesn't get me too pissed. and it's flavoursome. But I'd probably drink more of our pale ale in winter and then our summer ale in summer. I'm not sure whether that's got anything to do with the name of it or not, but
I'm the same. I sort of try and grab whatever's fresh, but I'll probably lean a bit hazy at the moment. But it's great to see West Coast getting out there and getting a bit of popularity.
It has had a real resurgence in the last year, I think.
It has. But I think the definition of West Coast changed a little bit from what it was 5 years ago, where it was all about IBUs, and now that's dialed back a lot. And I think the fact that the IBUs,
makes it more approachable.
It's more approachable.
I think that's a good thing,
a lot more people in your beer than
some of those big West Coast originally, they were so bitter and so piney and full on that
very
you could
aggressive.
have maybe a glass and that's probably enough. Whereas now you can have a 4-pack on the couch. And it's all about, I guess, balance and also I think the way people are using hops has changed. Using them later in the whirlpool, also a lot more dry hopping, and it softens the profile of the beer.
We generally don't add too many in the kettle. Like we add a bitter in charge, and whereas we used to add them sort of at 10 minutes and then at 0 and then the whirlpool, and we're probably only adding some at 0 and then the whirlpool. We're cutting out that 10-minute charge. And I think the beer's more approachable for it too.
Yeah, definitely. Get that nice sort of juicy, all those tropical, nice flavours coming out of these new sort of
and that
new
was
age
one
world.
of the things that we were trying to do with this beer as well. Was not make it your typical classic West Coast. We wanted to have a few of the attributes from the hazies, but it not be a hazy. You can see that it's not hazy, but there's definitely a little bit of a cloudiness to it.
It certainly doesn't look like that.
No, it's definitely not like that.
Mate, you must see lots of different beers come over the bar here. What to you in the last couple of years has stood out?
Probably not so much over the bar. A big awakening for me, and it was for hazy IPAs, was going to Happy Fest in 2019. And having the likes of Trillium and Monkish and these guys that were at the front of the wave in the States come over here and just blow me away with what that style could be. I don't know. And Australia at the time just didn't have we were all trying to interpret what it's supposed to be. And like I remember the first collab we ever did with Mornington Peninsula when they were still indie. Oh, they still are, I think. But they had their brewery.
When they were themselves.
When they were at the top of their game. We did one of Australia's first commercial hazy IPAs with them, and we're like literally chucking flour into it to try and get some hazy to it because no one really knew what was going on. And
a few dough balls.
We got a lot of dough balls. They had a pizza oven which we cooked them up later, which was great.
Bit of damper.
Yeah. But look, for me that was pivotal in what my idea of what a hazy IPA could be, and I think there was a lot of brewers there that particularly Garage Project in terms of the Southern Hemisphere, they learned a lot from that, and I think they sort of started whacking out some pretty amazing. They left their game immediately, and then I think that filtered over here very quickly.
Well, they're not bad at making beers, Garage Project.
They're okay. But I think there was a very pivotal moment in the Southern Hemisphere, or in Australia and New Zealand, sort of technique and whatnot. And I think we've, we're nearly caught up, if not.
It is still a reasonably new style. Like I remember 6-7 years ago, the first time I saw it in Australia, and I'm like, what is this? Basically,
the first one I
was
had,
so anti it to begin with.
The first one I had, I think, was at the. I don't even think it was called BrewCon then. It was down in Adelaide at the CBIA Craft Brewers Conference. And I had it, and I was just going, this is fucked.
Yeah.
Like it had no bitterness, and it was unbalanced, and
It's really sweet.
to me it looked awful. But my mindset has definitely changed since then. And so has the quality of the beers. I reckon if I still had that beer, I'd still probably go. Because, and that's not the brewer who made it. It's not their fault. They were probably just had a stab at something that they didn't know.
Well, I think we're all still learning it. That's what I said. Every time
I'm still
I make
learning
one,
it. I'm
definitely
100% still learning how to make those beers.
We brewed another one recently. We did a collab with Cryo Malt or Yakima Chief Hops. And it almost looked like that. We used basically the same grist as this. But it just tasted so bright and fresh. That's what I was talking about, trying to get the balance of how hazy it is, where it's still a hazy, but you still want all those nice sort of flavors.
I don't mind that though. Like when we were in the States, and granted we were on the West Coast, there were some beers that were being sold as hazy IPAs that were that hazy. And they were cracking, they were really good beers.
Well, in terms of beer clarity, that is still like would be classed as hazy from traditionalists, where they want the beer like crystal clear.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very interesting.
But it's all subjective, isn't it? Like, and that's what makes it fun.
Oh, of course. Yeah, well, anyway, gents, I think we've come up with a couple of pretty decent beers.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing and having your launch.
No worries. Thanks for having us, mate.
Thanks for having us, mate, because you've definitely been a big supporter of ours, and we really do appreciate it. Thanks, mate.
Awesome, gents. We might finish these little ones off, and we'll go upstairs and
cheers.
Maybe try another couple.
Just to make sure.
Make sure they taste okay. All right. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Thank you.